Friend Sci-Fi, you want to watch super hit movie Zootopia in English. Then you must like this video. If you are visiting our channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe West Films to our channel, friends. In today's video, the movie we're going to talk about is called Zootopia. We will talk about what this movie is and where you can watch it. All the interesting facts about this movie in today's video. I'm going to tell you, I am also going to give you all the information on which OTT platform or on which satellite channel you will get to watch this movie. Also, we will talk in detail about the technical department, music department, pre-production filming, post-production budget, box office collection of this film. We will also talk about the story of this film, and I will also give you a small review of the story of this film. Apart from this, we will discuss about the facts of this film's storyline, star-cast actors' performance in the film, and which character has played which role. That's why I request you friends to watch this video till the ends. So let's start the video. Zootopia is a 2016 American animated buddy cop comedy film. Produced by Walt Disney Animation Studios. Directed by Byron Howard and Rich Moore from a screenplay by Jared Bush and Phil Johnston, the film stars the voices of Ginnifer Goodwin, Jason Bateman, Idris Elba, Jenny Slate, Nate Torrence, Bonnie Hunt, Don Lake, Tommy Chong, J.K. Simmons, Octavia Spencer, Alan Tudyk, and Shakira. The film follows a rookie police officer, Rabbit, and a con artist, Fox, as they work together to uncover a conspiracy involving the disappearance of predators. Zootopia premiered at the Brussels Animation Film Festival in Belgium on February 13, 2016, and was theatrically released in the United States on March 4th. The film received largely positive reviews from critics, who praised its screenplay, animation, voice acting, subject matter, and Michael Giacchino's musical score. The film opened to record-breaking box offices in several countries and earned a worldwide gross of over $1 billion, making it the fourth highest-grossing film of 2016. Among other accolades, the film was named one of the top 10 films of 2016 by the American Film Institute and won Best Animated Feature at the 89th Academy Awards. A television spin-off series, Zootopia Plus, premiered on Disney Plus on November 9, 2022, while a sequel, Zootopia 2, is scheduled for release on November 26, 2025. Plot: in a world inhabited by anthropomorphic animals, Judy Hopps, a rabbit from rural Bunnyboro, becomes the first rabbit police officer in the city of Zootopia. On her first day at the Zootopia Police Department, ZPD, she is given parking duty by Chief Bogo and is hustled by Red Fox con artist Nick Wilde. The next day, she abandons her post to arrest small-time crook Duke Weaselton for stealing a bag of crocus bulbs. While Chief Bogo is reprimanding Judy, Mrs. Pat Otterton visits his office, pleading for her husband Emmett, one of 14 missing predators, to be found. Judy volunteers, and Bogo attempts to fire her for insubordination. When the city's assistant mayor, Dawn Bellwether, praises Judy for taking the assignment, Bogo agrees but demands Judy's resignation if she cannot close the case within 48 hours. Having determined that Nick was the last to see Emmett, Judy blackmails him into helping her by recording his confession to tax evasion. They track a limousine that picked up Emmett and learn that the vehicle is owned by Mr. Big, an Arctic shrew crime boss whom Nick has a history with. Mr. Big explains that Emmett unexpectedly went savage and attacked the limousine's chauffeur, Monches, a black jaguar. Judy and Nick question Monches, who explains that Emmett yelled about night howlers before attacking him. Manches suddenly turns savage himself and chases Judy and Nick. Judy traps Manches and calls the ZPD for help, but Manches vanishes before backup arrives. At City Hall, Judy and Nick access Zootopia's traffic cameras, which reveal that Manches was abducted by timber wolves, whom Judy assumes are the night howlers. Following the wolves, Judy and Nick locate Emmett and the other missing predators, who are all savage and imprisoned in an asylum. Zootopia's mayor, Leodore Lionheart, had ordered their quarantine and is trying to determine what caused their feral behavior. Lionheart and the asylum staff are arrested, and Bellwether becomes the new mayor. Judy, praised for solving the case, asks Nick to join the ZPD as her partner. At a press conference, she accidentally implies the savageness epidemic was caused by the physiology that all predators possess. Disappointed and offended, Nick abandons Judy, whose comments incite fear and discrimination against predators throughout Zootopia. Racked with guilt, she quits her job and returns to Bunnyboro. While managing her parents' vegetable stand, Judy learns that night howlers are actually midnicampum flowers, which have severe, lasting psychotropic effects if ingested. Realizing that someone is using the flowers to turn predators savage, she returns to Zootopia and reconciles with Nick. Aided by Mr. Big, they interrogate Weaselton, who admits that a ram named Doug hired him to steal the night howler bulbs. They find Doug in a laboratory hidden in the subway, where he manufactures a serum from the night howlers to use against predators via a tranquilizer dart. Judy and Nick obtain a serum gun as evidence after a chase in the subway, but before they can reach the ZPD, Bellwether confronts them in the Natural History Museum and reveals herself to be the mastermind of a prey supremacist conspiracy. Judy and Nick become trapped in an exhibit. Bellwether shoots Nick with the serum gun and orders the ZPD to capture him, but Judy and Nick have already replaced the darts with blueberries and recorded Bellwether's confession. Bellwether and her accomplices are arrested, while Lionheart publicly denies knowledge of her scheme, insisting that imprisoning the infected predators was doing the wrong thing for the right reason. The predators are rehabilitated and Judy is reinstated into the ZPD. Months later, Nick graduates from the police academy, becoming Judy's partner and the first Fox police officer. Voice cast, main article, list of characters in the Zootopia franchise. Ginnifer Goodwin as Judy Hopps, a young optimistic rabbit from Bunnyboro and a newly appointed member of the Zootopia Police Department assigned to the 1st Precinct. Della Saba portrays the character's younger self in the film's prologue. Jason Bateman as Nick Wilde, a sly red fox and small-time con artist who later joins the Zootopia Police Department as a police officer. Kath Soucie voices the character's younger self in a flashback he recounts. Idris Elba as Chief Bogo, the African Buffalo Chief of Police of the Zootopia Police Department's 1st Precinct. Jenny Slate as Dawn Bellwether, the diminutive U Assistant Mayor of Zootopia. Nate Torrence as Benjamin Clawhauser, an overweight cheetah who works as a dispatcher and desk sergeant for the Zootopia Police Department's 1st Precinct. Bonnie Hunt as Bonnie Hopps, Judy's mother. Don Lake as Stu Hopps, Judy's father and a carrot farmer. Tommy Chong as Yax, a laid-back domestic yak who owns the Mystic Springs Oasis Naturalist Club in Sahara Square. J.K. Simmons as Leodore Lionheart, the noble but pompous lion mayor of Zootopia. Octavia Spencer as Mrs. Otterton, a concerned North American river otter whose husband Emmett has gone missing. Alan Tudyk as Duke Weaselton, a small-time leased weasel crook also known for selling bootleg DVDs. The name references the Duke of Weselton from Frozen, whom Tudyk also voices. Shakira as Gazelle, a famous Thompson's Gazelle pop star 20. Shakira also voices Gazelle in the Spain and Latin America Spanish dubs. Raymond S. Percy as Flash Slothmore, the fastest three-toed sloth in the DMV, short for Department of Mammal Vehicles. Officer Higgins, an elite hippopotamus member of the Zootopia Police Department's 1st Precinct. Maurice LaMarche as Mr. Big, a fearsome Arctic shrew crime boss in Tundra Town served by a group of polar bears. The character is an homage to Marlon Brando's role as Vito Corleone in The Godfather. Phil Johnston as Gideon Gray, a red fox from Bunnyboro, who bullied the young rabbits and sheep when he was young. As an adult, he has reconciled with those he tormented and is now a much-respected baker. An angry off-screen character who states that his taxes pay Judy's salary after she gives him a parking ticket. Fuchsia, as Major Friedkin, a polar bear drill instructor at the Zootopia Police Academy. John DiMaggio as Jerry Jumbo Jr., an ill-tempered African elephant who owns an ice cream parlor called Jumbo's Cafe, frequented by elephants and other larger mammals. Walter and Jesse, a pun on the show Breaking Bad's main protagonists, Walter White and Jesse Pinkman, Doug's two tough ram assistants. A moose that gets a parking ticket from Judy. A pig reporter. Katie Lowes as Dr. Madge Honey Badger, a honey badger scientist who helps Mayor Lionheart look for the cause of the animal's savagery. Geeta Reddy as Nangi, an Indian elephant yoga instructor at Mystic Springs Oasis. Jesse Corti as Monches, a black Jaguar chauffeur from Zootopia's Rainforest District who works for Zootopia's biggest limo company and serves as Mr. Big's personal chauffeur. Tom Lister Jr. as Finnick, a fennec fox and Nick's partner in crime. Josh Dallas as an unnamed domestic pig who frantically asks Judy for help after his flora and fauna flower shop is robbed by Duke Weaselton. He later appears as a protester at Gazelle's peace rally, arguing with a female leopard. Leah Latham as Frou Frou, an Arctic shrew and Mr. Big's daughter who befriends Judy after Judy saves her from a runaway donut sign in Little Rodentia. She also makes Judy the godmother and namesake of her daughter. Rich Moore as Doug, an emotionless ram chemist and sniper working for Bellwether. Larry, a gray wolf that is a security guard at Cliffside Asylum. Fabienne Rawley and Peter Mansbridge as Fabienne Growley and Peter Moosebridge, the snow leopard and moose anchors of the ZNN News. The moose co-anchor is used in the standard version of the film, released in the United States, Italy, France, Canada, Russia, Philippines, and Mexico. In the UK version, the moose is named as Moosus Alexander, voiced by radio journalist Vassos Alexander, though the UK home release used his US name and voice. In other countries, the anchor is a different animal, voiced by a different person. David Campbell voices a koala newscaster named David Koalabell in the Australian and New Zealand versions. The Brazilian version uses a jaguar named Onsardo Boicha, who is voiced by Ricardo Boichat. The Japanese version uses a tanuki named Michael Tanuyama, who is voiced by Kazumasa Kora. The Chinese version uses an unnamed giant panda. Byron Howard as Bucky Oryx Antlerson, Judy's greater kudu neighbor. Travis, Gideon Gray's black-footed ferret friend. Jared Bush as Pronk Oryx Antlerson, Judy's Gemsbach neighbor. Mark Rhino Smith as Officer McCorn, a black rhinoceros police officer in the Zootopia Police Department's 1st Precinct. Josie Trinidad as Mrs. Dharma Armadillo, a 9-banded armadillo and the landlady of the Grand Pangolin Apartments that Judy moves into. John Lavelle as the unnamed construction mouse foreman of Little Rodentia's construction crew who receives the popsicle sticks from Nick and Finnick. Kristen Bell as Priscilla, a 3-toed sloth and Flash's co-worker at the DMV. Production. Writing. Development of the film that became Zootopia began when Byron Howard had pitched 6 story ideas to Disney Animation Chief Creative Officer and Executive Producer John Lasseter, of which 3 involved animal characters, an all-animal adaptation of The Three Musketeers, a 1960s-themed story about a mad Dr. Cat who turned children into animals, and a bounty hunter pug in space. The common thread running through these ideas was that Howard wanted to do a film similar to Disney's Robin Hood, which also featured animals in anthropomorphic roles. According to Howard, Zootopia emerged from his desire to create something different from other animal anthropomorphic films where animals either live in the natural world or in the human world. His concept, in which animals live in a modern world designed by animals for animals, was well received by Lasseter, who responded by embracing and lifting Howard in the air like a baby Simba. Lasseter suggested that Howard should try combining the 1960s theme with the animal characters, especially the space pug. This led Howard to develop and pitch Savage Seas, an international spy film centered on an Arctic hare named Jack Savage, who was somewhat like James Bond. It was around this time that screenwriter Jared Bush was hired to work on the film. He was excited to work on a spy film because his own father and grandfather had worked for the Central Intelligence Agency. Howard and Bush continued to develop the film with the assistance of the Disney Story Trust, the studio's top creative personnel who meet regularly to review and discuss all projects in development. The most delightful part of the spy film turned out to be its first act, set in a city created by and for animals. To focus on the all-animal city, Howard eventually dropped the 1960s setting, along with the espionage and international aspects, and changed the film into a contemporary police procedural, in which Nick Wilde was the lead role, and Judy Hopps was essentially his sidekick. For a while, the filmmakers were very committed to that version of the story. But then in November 2014, the filmmakers realized the film's plot would be more engaging if they reversed the roles to instead focus on Hops as opposed to Wild. The change in perspective involved dropping several characters, including two characters known as the Gerbil Jerks, who were described as trust fund gerbils that had nothing better to do than harass Nick. Pre-production. In May 2013, The Hollywood Reporter initially reported that Howard was directing the film and that Jason Bateman had been cast, but little else about the film was known at the time. Zootopia was first officially announced on August 10, 2013, at the D23 Expo, with a March 2016 release date. Research for the film took place in Disney's Animal Kingdom, as well as in Kenya and the San Diego Zoo Safari Park, where animators spent 8 months studying various animals' walk cycles as well as fur color. 800,000 forms of mammals were created for and featured in the film. To make the characters' fur even more realistic, they also went to the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County to closely observe the appearance of fur with a microscope under a variety of lighting. The filmmakers drew inspiration for Zootopia's urban design from major cities, including New York City, San Francisco, Las Vegas, Paris, Shanghai, Hong Kong, and Brasilia. To develop a city that could actually be inhabited by talking mammals ranging in size from 2 inches, 5.1 centimeters, to 27 feet, 8.2 meters, and from drastically different climates, the filmmakers consulted Americans with Disabilities Act specialists and HVAC system designers. For assistance with designing motor vehicles appropriate for so many different types and sizes of mammals, the filmmakers consulted with Jay Mays, former chief creative officer of the Ford Motor Company. During the development process, Walt Disney Studios chairman Alan F. Horn suggested that Nick should expressly state his disappointment, "Just when I thought someone actually believed in me," after discovering that Judy still fears him as a predator. In March 2015, it was revealed that Rich Moore, Wreck-It Ralph, had been added as a director of the film, in addition to Jared Bush, Penn Zero, part-time hero, as co-director. Animation. Disney's most recent work on animating fur was for the titular character of the 2008 film Bolt, but the software they had used at the time was not ready for creating the realistic fur of the animals of Zootopia. Therefore, the studio's IT engineers developed the fur-controlling software iGroom, which gave character designers precise control over the brushing, shaping, and shading of fur, and made it possible to create a variety of eccentric character styles for each animal. The software was also able to control an unseen imaginary underlayer that gave fur a degree of plushness not seen before. This feature was used to create characters like Officer Clawhauser, who has a big head that is entirely made of spotted fur. Characters with noteworthy numbers of strands of hair or fur included both of the two lead characters, Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde, who each had around 2.5 million hairs, a giraffe with 9 million strands of fur, a gerbil with 480,000 strands, and a rodent with more strands of hair than the 400,000 that were on Elsa's head in Frozen. Zootopia was the second time Disney used the Hyperion renderer, which they had first used on Big Hero 6. A new fur paradigm was added to the renderer to facilitate the creation of realistic images of the animal's dense fur. Nitro, a real-time display application developed since the making of Wreck-It Ralph, was used to make the fur more consistent, intact, and subtle much more quickly, as opposed to the previous practice of having to predict how the fur would work while making and looking at silhouettes or poses for the character. The tree and plant generator Bonsai, first used in Frozen, was used to make numerous variations of trees with very detailed foliage. Zootopia was produced in makeshift quarters in a giant warehouse in North Hollywood, together with Moana, while Disney Animation's headquarters in Burbank was being renovated. Casting. On May 6, 2015, Bateman and Ginnifer Goodwin were announced as having been cast, respectively, in the roles of Nick Wilde and Judy Hopps. The filmmakers chose Bateman because they wanted an actor who could bring a funny yet heartfelt side with a wily, dry-witted sort of voice. Bateman described his character as a crafty, sarcastic schemer, remarking on the role's similarity to many other roles he had done since he was 12. He explained that he had said to the directors, "What kind of voice do you guys want me to do?" And they just looked at me like I was an idiot and said, "Just do what you do. Just talk." Commenting on the casting of Goodwin, Moore said that she brought very centered sweetness, tremendous heart, and a great sense of humor. He described Judy as a little Pollyanna mixed with Furiosa. Goodwin stated about her character, "People mistake kindness for naivete or stupidity, and she is a good girl through and through. But she's not a dumb bunny." Music. Main article, Zootopia. The film's score is composed by Michael Giacchino in his first feature-length project for Walt Disney Animation Studios, as he previously worked on several short films and television specials produced by the studio, as well as multiple Pixar films. Recording took place from November 16 to 20th, 2015, with an 80-piece orchestra conducted by Tim Simonek. In addition to her voice role of Gazelle, pop star Shakira also contributed an original song to the film titled "Try Everything," which was written by Sia and Stargate. The soundtrack was released on March 4, 2016 by Walt Disney Records. Marketing. The first teaser trailer was released online at Walt Disney Animation Studios' YouTube page on June 11, 2015. A second teaser trailer was released online again at Walt Disney Animation Studios' YouTube page on November 23, 2015, featuring a sequence of the film where the main characters encounter a department of mammal vehicles based on the DMV, run entirely by sloths. The official theatrical trailer for the film was released online at Walt Disney Animation Studios' YouTube page on New Year's Eve 2015. Figures of Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde were released for Disney Infinity 3.0 on March 1, 2016. In addition, the studio devoted considerable marketing attention to the furry fandom demographic, believing that they would logically be most interested in this film project. Release. Theatrical. Zootopia was released on March 4, 2016 in Disney Digital 3D, Real D 3D, and IMAX 3D, making it the first Disney animated film shown in domestic IMAX theaters since Treasure Planet 2002. It was shown for the first time to the public as a feature film in an international competition for a young audience during the Brussels Animation Film Festival in Belgium on February 7th and was screened to the general media and audience on February 13th. In China, the state's SA/FT granted the film a rare 2-week extension to play in theaters in addition to its limited 30-day run, which was to have ended on April 3rd. Alternative titles. The film was retitled for theatrical release across several international territories. In the United Kingdom and other European, Middle Eastern, and North African countries, the film was renamed Zootropolis, a reference to the concept of a metropolis rather than to that of a utopia. This was due to Disney being unable to trademark the name Zootopia in these territories for various legal reasons, including Danish Gifskud Zoo registering the name Zootopia in 2014. In Germany, the film was titled Zoomania due to a children's book by German author Kay Fisher titled Zootropolis, released in 2010. Home media. Zootopia was released by Walt Disney Studios Home Entertainment on Blu-ray, Blu-ray 3D, DVD, and digital HD platforms on June 7, 2016, citation needed. It includes some bonus material such as Scoretopia, an alternate opening, and the music video to Shakira's Try Everything. The film debuted at the top of the home media sales chart for the week ending on June 12, 2016. The film made a revenue of $89.6 million from home media sales, with 4.4 million units sold, making it the third best-selling title of 2016 behind Star Wars, The Force Awakens, and Finding Dory. Zootopia was released on 4K Blu-ray on November 5, 2019. Re-release. On June 22, 2020, amid the reopening of theaters due to the COVID-19 global pandemic, Disney announced that Zootopia, along with 11 other Disney-owned titles, were to return to U.S. theaters during a 4-week period. Zootopia returned to U.S. theaters on June 26th and played through July 2, 2020, alongside The Avengers and The Greatest Showman. The re-release grossed a total of $393,600. On July 20th, 2020, it was announced that the film would be returning to theaters in China, along with Big Hero 6 and the Chinese debut of Sonic the Hedgehog on July 31st, 2020, 85. As part of Disney's 100th anniversary, Zootopia was re-released in Helios theaters across Poland on October 22, 2023. Reception. Box office. Zootopia grossed $341.3 million in the U.S. and Canada and $682.5 million in other countries for a worldwide total of $1.024 billion, against a budget of $150 million. On March 18, 2016, the film reached the $500 million mark, becoming the third consecutive Walt Disney Animation Studios film to reach the milestone after Frozen 2013 and Big Hero 6 2014. On April 5th, it became the first film of 2016 to gross over $800 million in ticket sales, and on April 24th became the first film of 2016 to cross $900 million. On June 5th, the film crossed the $1 billion mark, becoming the second film of 2016 to do so after the studio's own Captain America: Civil War, the fourth animated film after Toy Story 3, Frozen, and Minions, the 11th Disney film, the third Disney animated film, and the 26th film overall to reach the milestone. Worldwide, it was the fourth highest grossing film of 2016, behind Civil War, Rogue One, and Finding Dory, the second highest grossing animated film of 2016, the second highest grossing Walt Disney Animation Studios film, second highest overall of all time in its original release after Frozen, the second highest grossing original film behind Avatar, and the fourth highest grossing animated film of all time. Deadline. Hollywood calculated the net profit of the film to be $294.9 million when factoring together all expenses and revenues for the film, making it the fifth most profitable release of 2016. United States and Canada. In the United States and Canada, pre-release tracking suggested the film would open to $60 to $70 million from 3,827 theaters in its opening weekend. It played in 3,100 3D theaters, 365 IMAX theaters, and 325 premium large format screens. It earned $1.7 million from Thursday previews, a record for a non-Pixar Disney animated film for an animated film opening outside of summer, and seventh biggest all-time for an animated film. Buoyed by good word of mouth, it earned $19.5 million on its opening day, also a record for a non-Pixar Disney animated film, breaking Frozen's record, and the second biggest for a March animated film behind Ice Age: The Meltdown. In its opening weekend, it scored a better-than-expected $75.1 million, which was the biggest non-Pixar Disney animated opening, breaking Big Hero 6's record. The biggest opening weekend among Walt Disney Animation Studios films, breaking Frozen's record. The biggest March animated opening, breaking the Lorax's record. The seventh biggest March opening, and the 10th biggest animated opening of all time. Furthermore, its opening weekend is also the fourth biggest for an original film, behind The Secret Life of Pets, Inside Out, and Avatar. It also performed exceptionally well in IMAX, where the film brought in $5.2 million from 366 screens, the second best animated IMAX opening behind only Toy Story 3, $8.4 million. In its second weekend, it fell gradually by 31% to $51.3 million and recorded one of the best holds for an animated film, more or less on par with Wreck-It Ralph's second weekend drop of 32%, but a bigger drop than the Lego Movie's 27%. It continued to top the box office for the third weekend, earning $37.2 million, falling by 28% from its previous weekend while passing the $200 million mark. This made it the second biggest third weekend for a film that did not open at over $100 million, behind Avatar, $68 million, and ahead of Skyfall, $35 million. The film was overtaken by the superhero film Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice in its fourth weekend, despite only a marginal decline. It spent a total of 13 consecutive weeks in the top 10, more than any other film except for Avatar, 14 weeks, and Frozen, 16 weeks over the last decade. It ended its theatrical run on August 4, 2016, after playing in theaters for a total of 154 days. It became the second highest grossing Walt Disney Animation Studios film, behind Frozen. the 7th highest grossing film of 2016, and the 10th highest grossing animated film of all time. In June 2020, due to the worldwide closure of cinemas during the COVID-19 pandemic and limits on which films played, Zootopia returned to 280 theaters, mostly drive-ins, and grossed $393,600. Other countries. Zootopia received a scattered release as Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures took advantage of school holidays in various markets. The film opened in a limited number of international markets in the weekend ending February 14th, earning $4.5 million in 3 markets. It expanded to 22 markets in its second weekend, into 36% of its total international markets, and added $31.2 million. It added another $33 million in its third weekend with no new markets. In its fourth weekend, it expanded to 45 countries and grossed $64.7 million, coming in second place at the international box office, behind the Chinese film Ip Man 3. $3.3 million came from IMAX showings. It finally topped the box office in its fifth weekend after a strong second weekend gross in China. It added $89.3 million from 45 countries, an increase of 25% from its previous weekend. It remained in first place for the second time in its sixth weekend before Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice took the top spot. It passed the $500 million mark in its eighth weekend. In its opening weekend, which varied between markets, the film grossed $3.1 million in Spain and an additional $1.7 million in Belgium and Denmark. In Belgium, it had the biggest ever animated opening for a Disney or Pixar film. It broke opening records for a non-Pixar Disney animated film in China, $23.6 million, France, $8.1 million, Russia, $7.8 million, Germany, $6.6 million, Hong Kong, $1.5 million, Poland, $1.2 million, and India. It opened in the United Kingdom and Ireland with $7.5 million, Mexico with $4.6 million, Australia with $3.2 million, Brazil with $2.6 million, and in Italy on a non-holiday weekend with $3.1 million. The film had number one openings in Austria, Switzerland, Portugal, and South Africa. In the UK and Ireland, with significant competition from Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and the animated family film Kung Fu Panda 3, the film had a $5.31 million, $7.6 million opening weekend from 579 theaters, including $1.74 million, $2.5 million worth of previews, debuting in second place behind Dawn of Justice and falling just short of Walt Disney Animation Studios' best opening in the UK. It fell just 24% in its second weekend. Zootopia's largest markets overseas are China, $235.6 million, followed by Japan, $70.1 million, Russia and the CIS, $39.2 million, Germany, $34.2 million, the UK, $34.2 million, France, $31.9 million, and South Korea, $31.6 million. In China, it is the highest-grossing Disney film in local currency, $1.53 billion, surpassing Avengers: Age of Ultron, $1.464 billion, as well as the seventh highest-grossing film of all time. In Russia, it is the second highest-grossing film of all time in local currency, $2.3 billion, behind only Avatar, $3.6 billion. It topped the Russian and German box office for 3 weekends and the Chinese and Korean box office for 2 weekends. In China, where it was locally known as Crazy Animal City, the film exceeded expectations and was considered Hollywood's biggest breakout success in China since 2015's Jurassic World made $229 million. It had an opening day of $3.4 million on its way to $23.6 million for its 3-day opening weekend, debuting in second place and scoring the biggest non-sequel animated opening, as well as the second biggest 3-day opening and IMAX opening for an animated film behind Kung Fu Panda 3. In its 9th day of release, a Saturday, it recorded the biggest single-day gross ever for an animated film, with $25 million compared to $10.6 million on its first Saturday, and passed the lifetime total of Big Hero 6 to become the highest-grossing Disney animated film in China. In its second weekend, it grossed $60 million, an enormous increase of 139% from its previous weekend, and crossed the $100 million mark to become the third animated film in China to do so, after Kung Fu Panda 3 and Monkey King: Hero is Back. This also marked the single best weekend for an animated film. In mid-March, the combined total of Kung Fu Panda 3 and Zootopia alone broke 2014's record of $286 million in box office grosses for American animated features in China. In its third weekend, it grossed $40 million for a total of $175 million, making it the highest-grossing animated film of all time in China. On March 27th, its 17th day of release, it passed the $200 million mark, becoming the first animated film, the second Disney film, and the sixth Hollywood film overall to pass that milestone. It became the highest-grossing animated film of all time and the second highest-grossing film of 2016, behind only The Mermaid. It opened in Japan on April 23rd and earned $4 million in its opening weekend, debuting at second place in the box office, behind Detective Conan: The Darkest Nightmare, and had the third biggest Walt Disney Animation Studios debut in that market, behind Frozen and Big Hero 6. Deadline.com pointed out that the average opening number might have been due to the 2016 Kumamoto earthquakes, which could have affected moviegoers. In a rare achievement, it topped the box office in its third weekend after 2 weeks at number 2. In the following 2 weekends, it continued to increase its ticket sales and topped the box office there for 4 consecutive weekends. After 4 straight wins, it was finally overtaken by the R-rated superhero film Deadpool. It was the number 1 Western Hollywood film for 8 consecutive weekends. The Hollywood Reporter cited that strong word of mouth, audiences watching both the English and Japanese versions, and 3D and 4DX screenings, as well as a popular Japanese version of the Try Everything song by Dream Army, all helped boost Zootopia's performance. Its strong run in the market aided the film to propel past the $1 billion mark worldwide. It remained in top 3 for 11 consecutive weekends and has grossed a total of $70.1 million there. Critical response. On the review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an approval rating of 98% based on 298 reviews, with an average rating of 8.110. The website's critical consensus reads, "The brilliantly well-rounded Zootopia offers a thoughtful, inclusive message that's as rich and timely as its sumptuously state-of-the-art animation, all while remaining fast and funny enough to keep younger viewers entertained." It was the site's second highest-rated film of 2016 behind Moonlight on Metacritic. The film has a score of 78 out of 100, based on 43 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A, on an A+ to F scale. Neil Genslinger of the New York Times considered the movie funny, smart, and thought-provoking. 60. Peter Travers of Rolling Stone wrote that Zootopia may be the most subversive movie of 2016, giving the film 3.5 stars out of 4, and praising its timely message about the harm of prejudice in the face of the prevailing xenophobic political rhetoric at the time of the film's release, and the film's humor. Peter DeBruge at Variety opined that Zootopia plays directly to the studio's strength. 161. IGN reviewer Eric Goldman gave the film a 9.0 out of 10, amazing score, saying, "Zootopia is a wonderful example of how Disney, at its best, can mix its past and present together in a very cool, compelling way. It takes the classic animation trope of animals walking, talking, and acting like humans, but gives it a modern spin, both in terms of its humor and animation style, and also in its themes, which are meaningful and fascinatingly topical." Writing in British Sunday newspaper The Observer, reviewer Mark Kermode, "Very funny and very likable holiday treat." The ensuing drama is nominally a tale of predators succumbing to their animal instincts while frightened prey fear their neighbors. In fact, it's a delightfully well-orchestrated parable about trust and tolerance versus panic and prejudice, an encouragingly upbeat celebration of love and diversity in times of hate and uncertainty. If that all sounds overly on message, then fear not. The jokes are funny, the characters engaging, and the animation packed with delicious visual detail. This is proper family fun with genuine cross-generational appeal. Hooray! In the UK daily newspaper The Daily Telegraph, Robbie Collin noted, "The lion doesn't just lie down with the lamb, they run for City Hall on a joint ticket. It's the diversity dream come true. Or is it? Think Busytown by way of Chinatown. It's almost certain to be the most existentially probing talking animal cartoon of the year." Colin added, "Like Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy in 48 Hours, albeit considerably cuter, Judy and Nick make a hilariously strained but effective double act, not least thanks to Goodwin and Bateman's tremendous vocal work, which trips along with the effortless swing and snap of great bebop." Matt Zoller cites of RogerEbert.com, despite generally liking the film, 3 out of 4 stars, had trouble with the film's central metaphor that conflicted with its message. Zootopia is constantly asking its characters to look past species stereotypes and not use speciesist language or repeat hurtful assumptions. This all seems clever and noble until you realize that all the stereotypes about various animals are to some extent true. In particular, the most basic one, carnivores eat herbivores, because it's in their nature. If Zootopia were a bit vaguer or perhaps dumber and less pleased with itself, it might have been a classic, albeit of a very different, less reputable sort. As is, it's a good-hearted, handsomely executed film that doesn't add up in the way it wants to. Also in the Daily Telegraph, Rosa Prince singled out the film's lead character, Judy Hopps, as a welcome change for Disney animated feature film heroines, such as the Disney Princess franchise. She found that unlike those characters' focus on romance or family loyalty, Hopps' focus is on her dream career as a police officer and serving her city. Some were critically divided of the message about universal prejudices of all sorts, interpreted as an allegory of American racism. Nico Lang of Consequence of Sound felt that Disney delivered a kids' version of Crash. Others criticized the use of prey and predator species in the allegory, while critics at the root stated positively that the movie acknowledges culpability of systemic racism and white supremacy. The Encyclopedia of Science Fiction states that the film uses its premise to examine cultural biases, stereotypes, and prejudices, including conveying a strong anti-racist message. It avoids the species A equals race Y trap, though the viewer needs to accept that, in this context, animal behavior is being treated as a stereotype. Accolades. Main article, list of accolades received by Zootopia. The film was chosen by the American Film Institute as one of the top 10 films of 2016 and won the Academy Award, Golden Globe, Critics' Choice Movie Award, and Annie Award for Best Animated Feature Film. It also received a nomination for the BAFTA Award for Best Animated Film, which it lost to Kubo and the Two Strings. Lawsuit. On March 21, 2017, a copyright infringement lawsuit was filed against Disney by Esplanade Productions, a company owned by Gary L. Goldman, the co-screenwriter of Total Recall. The lawsuit claims that Goldman, in 2000 and 2009, pitched a concept to Disney for a live-action film titled Looney, which was about a socially awkward animator who creates a self-inspired TV cartoon called Zootopia. Disney twice rejected the pitch, but Goldman accused the company of copying the name, themes, settings, and character tropes. Filed with the lawsuit was a graphic of early concept artwork of characters that are claimed to appear similar to major characters from the film, including Nick Wilde, Judy Hopps, Flash, and Chief Bogo. A Disney spokesperson described the lawsuit as being ridden with patently false allegations. After months of back-and-forth deliberation between the two parties, U.S. District Judge Michael W. Fitzgerald dismissed the infringement claims on November 8, 2017. As stated in the final review, Goldman's effort to make the plots of Looney and Zootopia seem similar were strained. All the purported similarities between the two works were themes, not plot points or sequences of events that were too general to be protected by copyright law. Esplanade appealed to the Ninth Circuit, which affirmed the dismissal on April 24, 2019. Other media. Main article Zootopia. Merchandise. A card game based on the film called Zootopia, Suspect Search was released, as well as a game for mobile phones titled Zootopia Crime Files. In May 2018, it was announced that a Zootopia graphic novel was set to be published by Dark Horse Comics. The graphic novel, titled Disney Zootopia, Friends to the Rescue, was written by Jimmy Gownley, with art by Leandro Ricardo da Silva. It was released on September 25, 2018. Theme park attractions. On January 22, 2019, Disney Parks announced a themed area based on Zootopia was to be coming to Shanghai Disneyland, with construction on the land beginning on December 9, 2019. Construction halted for a brief period during the COVID-19 pandemic, but by June 2020, construction had resumed. The land opened to the public on December 20th, 2023, which is part of the Walt Disney Company's 100th anniversary celebration 186. The land includes a trackless dark ride Zootopia Hot Pursuit. On September 9th, 2023, it was announced at Destination D23 that the It's Tough to Be a Bug attraction at Disney's Animal Kingdom of Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida, would be replaced by a Zootopia show in the Tree of Life Theater. The show was revealed to be titled Zootopia Better Together in 2024 at the Disney Experiences Showcase at D23, with a premiere of late 2025. Television spin-off. Main article Zootopias. On December 10, 2020, during the Disney Investors Day livestream, Walt Disney Animation Studios announced that a television series entitled Zootopia Plus was to premiere in 2022 on Disney Plus as one of the studio's first television projects, as most TV shows based on Disney's animated films are produced by Disney Television Animation. It was announced to be an anthology series that would feature storylines that follow 3 sets of characters from the film: the mobster shrews, the tiger dancers, and the sloths. On November 12, 2021, Disney confirmed the series for a release in 2022 and also released a first-look teaser image which included characters from the film not previously confirmed to be in the series. The series was directed by Trent Corey and Josie Trinidad. It was released on November 9, 2022, with 6 shorts. Among the episodes include an action parody starring Bonnie and Stu Hops, a musical starring Duke Weaselton, a Real Housewives spoof with Frou Frou, a film noir parody with Mr. Big, a dance competition parody with Clawhauser, Bogo, and Gazelle, and a romantic comedy parody with Flash and Priscilla. Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde cameo in the action parody and make other appearances throughout. All the cast members from the movie reprise their roles. The music is composed by Curtis Strong and Mick Giacchino, Michael's son, with Michael scoring the Duke the Musical episode with lyrics by Kate Anderson and Elisa Samsel, Olaf's Frozen Adventure, Central Park. Comic books. Dynamite Entertainment announced they will be publishing Zootopia comic books starting in January 2025. Sequel. Main article Zootopia 2. In June 2016, Howard and Moore were in talks about the possibility of a Zootopia sequel. On February 8, 2023, Disney CEO Bob Iger announced that a sequel to Zootopia was in the works during the Disney 2023 Q1 investors call. Later that day, screenwriter and co-director Jared Bush confirmed that he is working on the film as director and writer, while Josie Trinidad, who had served as head of story for the first film alongside Jim Reardon, was confirmed as the sequel's co-director, making it her feature directorial debut. Ginnifer Goodwin, who voices Judy, told CinemaBlend that she would like to see a role reversal between Judy and Nick in the sequel. "I would like to see Nick have to be the one to convince Judy that the world is worth fighting for," she said. Jason Bateman, who voices Nick, also told CinemaBlend about his idea for the sequel. "The two of us, Nick and Judy, kicking ass out there, cleaning up the streets. We're a couple of new cops out there, so bad guys, be warned." On February 7, 2024, Iger revealed during the Disney 2024 Q1 investors call that the sequel has been titled Zootopia 2 and will be released on November 26, 2025. On August 9, 2024, Ke Huy Quan was announced to be playing Gary, while Bush will be the sole writer and director of the film instead, with Yvette Marino set to produce. Zootopia review. An anthropomorphized hippopotamus in a business suit will always be welcome. To that end, Disney's Zootopia, Zootropolis in the UK, but Zoomania in Germany, make of these permutations what you will, has solid protection from criticism baked in. From enormous elephants to zippy voles, all creatures great and small are dressed in funny outfits and, thanks to some very expensive computers, doing adorable things. A stoner yak voiced by Tommy Chong? It takes a concentrated effort to not at least chuckle, Luckily, there's just enough of a story here to keep the over 8 set engaged once the novelty wears off. The world of Zootopia is one with no humans. All animals live together in basic tolerance. Predators have had the savagery bred out of them, so a lion can be near a sheep and everyone is chill. This isn't to say there isn't residual prejudice. Just because he happened to be a fox is a phrase a young Judy Hopps, Ginnifer Goodwin, reminds her provincial bunny parents when they bring up a touchy moment from her childhood. Judy is an idealist, and thanks to the mayor's Mammal Inclusion Initiative, the first bunny to graduate from the police academy. Soon she's zooming away from the farmlands to the gleaming city of Zootopia, where anyone can be anything. But she still needs to remind a well-meaning but microaggressive cheetah that only a bunny can call another bunny cute. The city itself is the best part of the picture, a gorgeous melange of design elements. Its center has a touch of Futurama, but there's also Sahara Square, Tundra Town, the Rainforest District, and Little Rodentia. That last bit is especially funny because when even tiny Judy Hopps is racing through it, she looks like Godzilla stomping on Tokyo. Judy's zealous nature gets her in trouble with the police chief, Idris Elba, voicing a giant water buffalo, but he shouldn't be selling her short and sticking her with meter maid duty. Naturally, she's the one that's going to crack the case of the 14 missing mammals. She doesn't do it alone, though. She ensnares Nick Wilde, a conniving sly fox voiced by Jason Bateman, to help her, and when they work together and overcome their bigotry, there are life lessons blazing off the screen. But here's where Zootopia gets a little interesting. There's a natural endpoint to the story when the bad guy gets captured, but there's a twist. I wouldn't normally get into such late-in-the-game story details, but there's really not much else meriting discussion beyond hissing at the painfully drawn-out parody of The Godfather or applauding the "we're going to annoy you" humor at the sloth-run Department of Mammal Vehicles. The missing mammals are being held because for some reason they have reverted to their savage states and have committed unpredictable PG-rated atrocities. Judy says some problematic things during a press conference, and within moments, the bliss of Zootopia's utopia is shattered. Soon society devolves into an enormous Trump rally, with an unhelpful press corps fanning the flames of xenophobia and ignorance. Woe be to anyone who tries to argue a one-to-one comparison between the Predators v. Prey theme and any real-life controversy. It flashes on everything from typical right-wing radio cliches to general false flag paranoia. It's somewhat heavy material for a film aimed at children, but perhaps very necessary in an age where a beer-stained uncle might have ruined Thanksgiving wearing a Make America Great Again baseball cap. It's still Disney, though, and it concludes happily and without much nuance. There's ample space given for prey like Judy to apologize to unjustly accused predators, like her fox buddy, and for everyone to grow. It's a good message, and one that will no doubt infuriate the right, who will say that Disney spent however many millions producing propaganda in favor of, for instance, the Iran deal, to pull one of 100 different interpretations out of my ear. That this cute picture with funny giraffes and gazelles will be manipulated to further fuel hate is just all the more evidence that we haven't yet fully evolved beyond our savage animal state. Fantasy films aimed at kids don't have to have political messages, but when they do, they should either be internally consistent or work through the contradictions in terms that kids can apply to the real world. Zootopia, a fantasy set in a city where predators and prey live together in harmony, is a funny, beautifully designed kids' film with a message that it restates at every turn. But if you think about that message for longer than 5 minutes, it doesn't merely fall apart. It invites a reading that is almost surely contrary to the movie's seemingly enlightened spirit. Discrimination is wrong, but stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason. And it's not easy for members of a despised class to overcome the reasons why the majority despises them, so you gotta be patient. Ginnifer Goodwin, Big Love, voices Bunny Hopps, a small-town rabbit who's told that she can't be a police officer in Zootopia because there's never been a rabbit police officer. The job tends to be done by predators and large herbivores, like a water buffalo that's become a police captain, voiced by Idris Elba. Hops makes it through police training anyway and gets assigned to meter maid duty, to the relief of her carrot farmer parents, Bonnie Hunt and Don Lake, who gave her fox repellent as a going-away present. They had good reason to give her fox repellent. The fox is one of the rabbit's mortal enemies, and when Judy was child, a fox cornered her at a county fair, insulted her for being a bunny, and slashed her face with his paw. This is a slightly more intense kid flick than you might expect, given how many adorable animals are in it. Of course, Hops ends up partnered with a red fox named Nick Wilde, Jason Bateman, a small-time hustler who reluctantly helps her investigate the disappearances of a dozen predators. I won't reveal exactly what the mystery is here. It's a pretty good one, except to say that it invites kids and parents to talk about nature versus nurture and the origins and debilitating effect of stereotypes. But this turns out to be not such a great thing once you get deeper into the movie. Because people are not animals, I dread thinking about the logical conclusions to which such conversations will lead. The film isn't wrong to say that carnivores are biologically inclined to want to eat herbivores, that bunnies reproduce prolifically, the sloths are slow-moving, they work at the DMV here, that you can take the fox out of the forest, but you can't take forest out of the fox, and so on. If you think about all this as an analogy for the world we live in, particularly if we live in a melting pot big city like Zootopia, and then ask yourself which racial or ethnic or societal groups, cops, business people, city bureaucrats, are predators and which are prey, for purposes of metaphor translation, you see the problem. Zootopia pretty much rubber stamps whatever worldview parents want to pass on to their kids, however embracing or malignant that may be. I can imagine an anti-racist and a racist coming out of this film, each thinking it validated their sense of how the world works. Zootopia is constantly asking its characters to look past species stereotypes and not use speciesist language or repeat hurtful assumptions. Only a bunny can call another bunny cute, Hops warns a colleague in Kong. It's filled with moments that are about overcoming or enduring discrimination. Never let them see that they get to you, Wilde advises Hops. And there are acknowledgments of the destructive self-hatred that discrimination can cause. Many of the animals make self-deprecating jokes at the expense of stereotypes about their species, such as Hops volunteering to do math for Wilde, telling him, "If there's one thing we bunnies are good at, it's multiplying." And there's a fairly intense flashback which reveals that Wilde became a hustler because other animals hazed him as a pup while repeating anti-fox stereotypes and responded by embracing his species. Caricature and becoming the foxiest fox anyone had seen. This all seems clever and noble until you realize that all the stereotypes about various animals are to some extent true, in particular the most basic one. Carnivores eat herbivores because it's in their nature. Yes, readers, I know, there are tigers who've been taught to snuggle with lambs, and I've seen the same memes with cats and dogs snuggling that you have. I mean, in general. It might seem weird that I'm dwelling on this aspect of Zootopia, which is directed by Byron Howard and Rich Moore and co-directed by Jared Bush, because the movie is entertaining. The thriller plot, which borrows rather generously from 48 HRs and every cop drama involving governmental conspiracy, is smartly shaped saying. It's hard to imagine any child or adult failing to be amused and excited by parts of it. The compositions and lighting are more thoughtful than you tend to get in a 3D animated film starring big-eyed animals who speak with the voices of celebrities. And there are a few sections that are transportingly lovely, in particular any sequence involving the pop star Gazelle, voiced by Shakira, and Hop's high-speed train ride towards and through Zootopia, which introduces the city's different terrains, including frozen tundra and misty rainforest, while leaving room for subsequent bits of spelunking. A foot chase through Rodent Town lets Hops know what it feels like to be a giant. Some of the biggest laughs come from obvious gags that you know the writers couldn't resist, such as the bit where Idris's water buffalo captain says they can't start the morning briefing without acknowledging the elephant in the room. If you decide not to think about the metaphor that the film is built around, It's an enjoyable diversion, made with great skill. Still, is it too much to ask that a film that wears its noble intentions like a jangling neck collar be able to withstand scrutiny? If Zootopia were a bit vaguer, or perhaps dumber and less pleased with itself, it might have been a classic, albeit of a very different, less reputable sort. As is, it's a good-hearted, handsomely executed film that doesn't add up in the way it wants to. From the company that brought you the utopian simplicity of It's a Small World comes a place where mammals of all shapes, sizes, and dietary preferences not only live in harmony, but also are encouraged to be whatever they want. A revisionist animal kingdom in which lions and lambs lay down the mayoral law together, and a cuddly-wuddly bunny can grow up to become the city's top cop. Welcome to Zootopia, where differences of race and species serve no obstacle to either acceptance or achievement. It is, in short, a city that only the Mouse House could imagine, and one that lends itself surprisingly well to a classic LA-style detective story, a la The Big Lebowski or Inherent Vice, yielding an adult-friendly whodunit with a chipper you-can-do-it message for the Cubs. Opening in several European countries weeks ahead of its March 4 domestic release. Zootopia is full of motor-mouthed characters and American culture in jokes. No surprise, considering it was directed by Byron Howard, whose girl power Tangled kicked off the recent Disney revival, and The Simpsons vet Rich Moore, who previously helmed Wreck-It Ralph. But that should pose little obstacle to its worldwide appeal, boosted by some of the most huggable Disney characters since Lilo and Stitch. While her 225 bunny brothers and sisters are content to stay on the farm, aspirational rabbit Judy Hopps, Ginnifer Goodwin, shows an early aptitude for conflict management, stepping in when a schoolyard bully hassles her classmates. Not so surprisingly, the offender happens to be a fox, though Judy doesn't give in to such species typing, insisting that jerks come in all shapes and sizes. So too do heroes. And despite the limitations of her tiny scale, Judy enlists in the Zootopia Police Academy, struggling at first before outwitting her larger rivals. Graduating at the top of her class, Judy packs her bags for a job in the big city, which is like a cross between one of those shiny 21st century Dubai complexes featuring indoor skiing and surfing, and a new Disney theme park adjunct, complete with climate-specific subdivisions like Tundra Town and Sahara Square. There's far too much to take in here, as the opening scene of The Lion King promises, a movie whose stunning African savanna was downright simplistic compared with the world Zootopia has to establish, and Howard and Moore struggle to make their introduction anywhere near as impressive, despite leaning heavily on an unremarkable I Want song called Try Everything, performed by Gazelle Shakira, the Veld's sveltest pop idol, well-meaning sample lyric, I want to try even though I could fail. Doing justice to an elaborate new environment poses a familiar problem, slightly improved from last year's Tomorrowland, in the sense that Judy, who probably should have grown up in town, like everyone else in Zootopia, takes a long train ride into the city, ogling the various districts as she passes. It's a sequence worth studying a dozen times down the road, just to catch all the tiny details, from the hippo drying stations to the plastic hamster tubes, although it's an awkward way to acquaint ourselves with the city. In theory, Zootopia's residents have evolved past distinctions of predator and prey, which might explain the small matter of cartoon biology. Whether tiny mice or hulking rhinoceroses, all animals have front-facing eyes, upright postures, and opposable thumbs. A throwback to the delightful character design featured in Disney's Robin Hood, 1973, which reimagined a human world populated entirely by animals, integrating characteristics of each species into the ways different creatures move. In progressive-minded Zootopia, a moose can co-anchor the evening news with a snow leopard without it turning into an episode of When Animals Attack. That said, even the most basic social interactions remain tense, as the city's caste system matches animals to the roles that suit them best. The DMV is all too accurately staffed by slow-moving sloths, for example, while still adhering closely to the hierarchy of the food chain, with a few amusing exceptions, including a cameo by Pinky and the Brain actor Maurice LaMarche as a Don Corleone-like Arctic shrew. As far as cops are concerned, it's the big fellas, rhinos, tigers, and Cape Buffalo like Captain Bogo, Idris Elba, who are responsible for maintaining law and order. Judy may be the first to benefit from the new mammal inclusion initiative devised by Mayor Lionheart, J.K. Simmons, but Bogo isn't ready to trust her with a real investigation, placing the rookie on parking meter duty while he assigns everyone else key roles in a major missing persons case. If Bogo's behavior smacks of speciesism, that's no accident. The Zootopia screenplay, on which the directors share credit with Phil Johnston and co-helmer Jared Bush, actually turns real-world racial sensitivity issues into something of a talking point, as when Judy notes that a bunny can call another bunny cute, but it's not okay when another animal does it. While raising the subject should help encourage kids to look past surface differences in one another, it's a bit misleading, since the movie is less about race than gender, dredging up equality issues that might have been fresher in the days of 9 to 5 and Working Girl. Judy is treated differently because she's a woman, bonding most easily with Bellwether, baby-voiced comedian Jenny Slate, the woolly assistant mayor who serves as Lionheart's glorified secretary, and Clawhauser, Nate Torrence, the police force's effeminate cheetah receptionist. What then do we make of the tenuous alliance between Judy and trickster fox Nick Wilde, Jason Bateman, which, despite the obvious design familiarities, features none of the bloodthirsty tension shown between Brer Rabbit and Brer Fox in Disney's half-forgotten suppressed Song of the South? Zootopia's relatively PC sensibility serves as a partial corrective to that shameful 1946 tune, offering a classic screwball comedy relationship in which the natural rivals match wits, while she carries the added protection of a spray-based fox repellent. Getting no support from her police comrades, Judy enlists Nick in an investigation that leads her down the metaphorical rabbit hole and into the seedier side of Zootopia, from the Mystic Spring Oasis, a clothing-optional resort where animals frolic au naturel, to an ominous research facility housing predators that have gone savage. The deeper they go, the more Zootopia comes to resemble such vintage noirs as Chinatown and L.A. Confidential, from its increasingly shadowy look to Michael Giacchino's jazzy lounge music score. Disney has been down this road before with Who Framed Roger Rabbit, although this time there's not a single human character to be found, while the adult-skewing jokes, mostly references to other movies, aren't nearly so inappropriate for kids. Genre-wise, the film couldn't be farther from the terrain of Frozen and other Disney princess movies, though it plays directly to the studio's strengths, behind the scenes. We may not see every corner of Zootopia, but we know it's been mapped out and conceptualized, and on screen, where the endearingly designed ensemble gives the animators plenty to work with. Judy Hopps' bright-eyed, foot-thumping energy and Nick Wilde's cool, half-lidded reluctance offer a perfect study in contrasts, crossing what both actors gave in the recording booth with characteristics of the two species in question. In Goodwin's case, the actress's guileless optimism comes through loud and clear, telegraphed through her two long bunny ears, which fold back in fear and shame, but otherwise stand expectantly tall in the face of each new challenge. As her wily fox foil, Nick models a fast-changing map of Bateman's smirks and eye rolls, his slouchy posture a deceptive cover for his slippery potential. While it doesn't have quite the same breakout potential as the Mouse House's past few hits, Zootopia has shrewdly established both an environment that could be further explored from countless other angles, in a spin-off TV series perhaps, and an odd couple chemistry between Nick and Judy that carries on even after Gazelle returns for her obligatory grand finale. Think about when the last time a Disney animated feature addressed issues of race and gender equality. Amid sore spots such as Song of the South 1946 and Dumbo 1941, maybe only The Princess and the Frog 2009 comes to mind. Going a long way to correct its past crimes and distance itself from typical princess fare like Frozen 2013, Disney's Zootopia offers a twisting cop story in the vein of Chinatown 1974, but told in a modern world populated exclusively by animals. It's a place where mammals of all shapes and sizes coincide in peace, where the mayoral lion, voiced by J.K. Simmons, works alongside his assistant sheep, where the titular city's motto proclaims, "You can be what you want to be, regardless of whether nature designated you predator or prey." Animals have evolved beyond the otherwise ingrained rules of the animal kingdom. So if you're a fuzzy-wuzzy bunny and you want to become a cop, you can do just that. Such is the aspiration of young rabbit Judy Hopps, voiced by Ginnifer Goodwin, who stars as Snow White on TV's Once Upon a Time, a country girl who dreams of moving to the big city, where she hopes to dole out law and order behind a badge. She demonstrates her moxie in an early childhood scene where she breaks up a conflict between a bully fox and 3 meeker animals. Ever since, she and her family have had an unfortunate prejudice against foxes, which Judy, who graduates at the top her police academy, tries to dispense with before she moves to serve in Zootopia. In a police force dominated by bears, rhinos, and elephants, and overseen by a towering Cape buffalo, Chief Bogo, Idris Elba, Hopps will be something of a joke. But Hopps has told herself, "I want to try even though I could fail," as suggested by the corny "I Want" song by Shakira via her pop star character Gazelle. Likewise, the filmmakers of Zootopia have tried to accomplish a lot for one animated feature, and fortunately, their only failure is including Shakira's music twice in their film, early on in Hopps' above-mentioned arrival in the city, and again over the end credit sequence. Everything in between is effortlessly charming and gorgeously animated, as well as just plain good storytelling. A trio of directors including Byron Howard, Bolt, Rich Moore, Wreck-It Ralph, and Jared Bush also share writing duties with Phil Johnston and Jennifer Lee. That would otherwise be a lot of talent for traditionally singular roles, but there's also a lot happening in the film. Bustling sidewalks of giraffe food vendors, hippo drying stations, and tiny mouse cars lend an incredible amount of detail to Zootopia. Lively characters rooted in established crime tropes pervade the story. And significant lessons about people amounting to more than what's been customarily expected of them drive this progress-minded picture. At first, Chief Bogo assigns rookie cop Hopps to parking meter duty, a job she resents because she's clearly being discriminated against for her size and gender. When, in a bid to prove herself, Judy stakes her job on cracking a case of missing mammals, she enlists the help of an unwilling cohort, a sly, grifting fox named Nick Wilde, Jason Bateman. Their investigation leads them to various familiar scenes, each paying tribute to well-known cinematic crime stories. They enter the office of an Arctic shrew straight from The Godfather. They find a lab run by a sheep under a yellow jumpsuit. And this Breaking Bad reference comes complete with colleagues by the name of Walter and Jesse. This wouldn't be the first time Disney combined animation and crime into a fascinating mix. The classic Who Framed Roger Rabbit 1988 explored similar terrain in a film noir setup, albeit with humans at the center. No humans reside in the animated world of Zootopia. Rather, the animals stand upright, speak, and inhabit their own society like characters from Disney's Robin Hood 1973. They even wear clothes and consider it immodest not to. There's a hilarious scene where Hopps and Nick investigate a nudist colony. Of course, all the animals are rendered inert in terms of sexual organs, but the animators make great use of nude humor. Elsewhere, the viewer remains astonished by the intricacies of Zootopia itself, though not the degree where Big Hero 6's futuristic setting of San Francisco outshine the story. Divided into sectors such as Tundra Town and the Rainforest District, the city is alive with diversity. One of the most photo-real sectors belongs to the rodent world, which is miniature even to Hopps when she chases a perp inside its tiny walls. Of course, diversity itself remains the subtext of Zootopia's proceedings, disguised as a detective yarn though they may be. The relationship between Hopps and Nick is strained more than once, given her regrettable lifelong prejudice against foxes, while others who judged Nick's given species, a heartrending flashback depicts the origins of Nick's crushed hope for equality, shaped his entire petty criminal lifestyle. Despite all the commentary, the film could hardly be called preachy. The conspiracy story is always the driving force, whereas prejudice is the subtext. Indeed, the filmmakers make light of the material with jokes that were clearly designed for adults in the audience. Hops quips about how she's naturally good at math. Rabbits were born to multiply. Later, she corrects someone for calling her cute. Other bunnies can refer to her as cute, but it's wrong for another species to use that word. Suffice it to say, Zootopia is Disney's most politically correct knowing film. Too many of their animated features have been spoiled in subsequent years after looking back at the racial stereotypes therein, from the depiction of Native Americans in Peter Pan, 1953, to Arabs in Aladdin, 1992. This film creates a world that is fascinatingly ornamented and incredibly smart, where surprisingly deep characters survey the multifaceted animal metropolis. The characters talk fast, except at the sloth-operated DMV. Easily the film's best joke. Their wit is sharp, and the visual gags are aplenty. Thankfully, the film also contains no shortage of heart or imagination. Michael Giacchino's pulpy jazz score lends to the genre stylizations, while the story is captivating enough to have children and adults alike wondering what will happen next, and perhaps bring a tear to their eye. With equal measures of animated beauty and socially responsible intelligence, Zootopia stands among Disney's very best. In a world where mammals have evolved from savage predators and meek prey into civilized anthropomorphs, small-town rabbit Judy Hopps, Ginnifer Goodwin, dreams of becoming a police officer in the big city, Zootopia. In spite of her short stature, hard work and determination lead Judy to the top of her class at the police academy, and, thanks to a new mayoral initiative encouraging the hiring of small mammals on the Zootopia police force, Judy lands her dream job at the city's central precinct. Unfortunately, even though Judy has support from the mayor's office, she isn't treated with the same respect by her fellow officers, and the first precinct head, Chief Bogo, Idris Elba, sidelines the new recruit with parking ticket duty. Undeterred, Judy attempts to make the most of her job as a meter maid, until she is outwitted by a conniving fox, Nick Wilde, Jason Bateman. Despite years of progress, relations between predators and prey can still be tense, even in Zootopia, and Judy is humiliated for letting a fox take advantage of her good nature. After all, Judy's father had warned her, first and foremost, to steer clear of foxes. Bucking her reservations, Judy ultimately realizes that Nick possesses the street savvy and local connections she needs in order to solve Zootopia's biggest case. Law-abiding mammals are going missing, and Chief Bogo has no leads. Brought to life by Walt Disney Animation Studios, the branch of Disney that is most recently responsible for Frozen and Big Hero 6, Zootopia was originally scripted by Jared Bush before collaborators Byron Howard, Tangled, and Rich Moore, Wreck-It Ralph, joined the project as co-directors. Fortunately, the more the merrier, as Bush, Howard, and Moore assembled a quality animated picture together. Zootopia is filled with lovable characters and a heartfelt message for kids, along with a layered subtext for adults that is both timely and moving. Poignant storytelling, vibrant animation, and memorable heroes produce an imaginative throwback to classic Disney animation for modern moviegoers. Viewers, young and old, will relish in the Zootopia world, which features a clever mix of archetypal Disney tropes blended with pop culture references. Unlike lesser CGI animated films, which might lean hard on of-the-moment memes for cheap laughs, Zootopia is a timeless allegory, one that magnifies the features and, more importantly, the troubles of human society through a fictional mammalian civilization. Alongside clever bits that poke fun at the real world, such as a laugh-out-loud scene at the DMV, Department of Mammal Vehicles, Zootopia is, at its core, a cautionary tale of prejudice, discrimination, and overt xenophobia, arriving at a time when the world might need a reminder on the subject. It could sound aggrandizing to suggest that a CGI animated film about a tie-wearing fox and a law-enforcing rabbit fighting crime in a city full of anthropomorphic animals is one of the most socially progressive films in recent memory, but Zootopia is deserving of the claim. Underneath its colorful animals characters, Bush, Howard, and Moore have delivered a treatise on fear of outsiders and the other, as well as the nagging prejudices that plague even the most open-minded of people and fictional anthropomorphs. Based on those achievements, some moviegoers might worry that Zootopia is saddled by heavy-handed social commentary, but Disney's latest animated offering moves at a lively pace and can be appreciated on multiple levels. The reluctant friendship and subsequent banter between Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde serves as an engaging narrative backbone, punctuated by witty callbacks and clever character dynamics throughout, not to mention solid voice acting work from Ginnifer Goodwin and Jason Bateman. Thanks to nuanced parallels in Judy as well as Nick's individual backstories, Zootopia succeeds in highlighting juxtapositions that further develop and complement each character. As in any good buddy duo film, neither hero is stronger or more developed than the other, allowing Judy and Nick to play off their respective idiosyncrasies in equal measure. Judy is an uptight but well-intentioned overachiever that inspires her friends to greatness, and Nick is a laid-back smooth talker who, in spite of a good heart, still has a mischievous side. To that end, Zootopia takes tried-and-true buddy cop tropes and injects a fresh layer of conflict, playing up underlying tensions between predators such as Nick and prey like Judy in the city to reinforce the film's message of tolerance. As a result, there are plenty of opportunities for the filmmakers to wind their characters up and watch the sparks fly. That said, other characters in the film are relegated to small roles, pit stops along the way as Judy and Nick bounce from one corner of Zootopia to the next. The film's villain, in particular, is half-cooked and woefully predictable, even in a movie aimed at kids, and certain support players are little more than one-joke set dressing. Still, even the most thinly drawn characters in Zootopia serve their primary purpose, to be entertaining, and lay a solid foundation for possible expansion in future series installments. In particular, fans, young and old, should be eager to see more of Flash, Raymond S. Percy, Officer Benjamin Clawhauser, Nate Torrence, Mr. Big, Maurice LaMarche, and Chief Bogo, Idris Elba. A testament to the strength of Bush's world building and the memorability of even the smallest Zootopia characters. Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde in Zootopia. Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde. Zootopia is playing in 2D, 3D, and 3D IMAX theaters, and the return on an upgraded ticket is especially subjective. Since Zootopia is CG animation, it looks great in 3D. Yet, like most Disney 3D films, the directors aimed for comfortable and immersive use of the depth rather than pop-out effects, which may be underwhelming to viewers who want to notice 3D whenever they opt for the add-on. Similarly, despite being the first Disney animated film shown in IMAX since 2002's Treasure Island, the IMAX format isn't a necessity for Zootopia either. Though, viewers who don't mind paying for a premium ticket shouldn't hesitate either, since they'll get to enjoy a great movie on a bigger screen size with sharper sound. Even when Zootopia falls into animation and buddy cop movie traps, the filmmakers inject enough fresh material to ensure even the most familiar moments still entertain. The movie's central stars, brought to life by superb computer animation and spirited voice work, are sure to be fan favorites in the theater, at home, and at Disney theme parks, setting the stage for a new Disney movie franchise and, no doubt, future adventures in Zootopia. Beyond financial and artistic success, Zootopia's greatest strength is its message, which challenges moviegoers, young and old, to be more tolerant, compassionate, and loving. A blend of classic Disney-inspired animation and progressive social commentary, Zootopia is a delightful and humbling film that also issues a timeless challenge. When it comes to accepting others, we still have a long way to go. We're clearly designed for adults in the audience. Hopps quips about how she's naturally good at math. Rabbits were born to multiply later. She corrects someone for calling her cute. Other bunnies can refer to her as cute, but it's wrong for another species to use that word. Suffice it to say, Zootopia is Disney's most politically correct. Knowing film, too many of their animated features have been spoiled in subsequent years after looking back at the racial stereotypes there, and from the depiction of Native Americans in Peter Pan 1953 to Arabs in Aladdin 1992, this film creates a world that is fascinatingly ornamented and incredibly smart, where surprisingly deep characters survey the multifaceted animal metropolis. The characters stalk fast, except at the slot Hope-rated DMV, easily the film's best joke. Their wit is sharp, and the visual gags are aplenty. Thankfully, the film also contains no shortage of heart or imagination. Michael Giacchino's pulpy jazz score lends to the genre stylizations, while the story is captivating enough to have children and adults alike wondering what will happen next, and perhaps bring a tear to their eye with equal measures of animated beauty and socially responsible intelligence. Zootopia stands among Disney's very best from the company that brought you the utopian simplicity of It's a Small World. Comes a place where mammals of all shapes, sizes, and dietary preferences not only live in harmony, but also are encouraged to be whatever they want. A revisionist animal kingdom in which lions and lambs lay down the mayoral law together, and a cuddly live bunny can grow up to become the city's top cop. Welcome to Zootopia, where differences of race and species serve no obstacle to either acceptance or achievement. It is, in short, a city that only the Mouse House could imagine, and one that lends itself surprisingly well to a classic LA-style detective story, a la The Big Lebowski or Inherent Vice, yielding an adult-friendly whodunit with a chipper. You can do it message for the Cubs opening in several European countries weeks ahead of its March 4th domestic release. Zootopia is full of motor-mouth characters and American culture and jokes. No surprise considering it was directed by Byron Howard, whose girl power Tangled kicked off the recent Disney revival, and The Simpsons vet Rich Moore, who previously helmed Wreck-It Ralph, but that should pose little obstacle to its worldwide appeal, boosted by some of the most huggable Disney characters since Lilo and Stitch. While her 225 bunny brothers and sisters are content to stay on the farm aspirational rabbit, Judy Hopps' Ginnifer Goodwin shows a nearly aptitude for conflict management, stepping in when a schoolyard bully has slasher classmates not so. Surprisingly, the offender happens to be a fox, though Judy doesn't give in to such species typing, insisting that jerks come in all shapes and sizes, pseudo-heroes, and despite the limitations of her tinny scale, Judy enlists in the Zootopia Police Academy, struggling at first before outwitting her larger rivals. Graduating at the top of her class, Judy packs her bags for a job in the big city, which is like a cross between one of those shiny 21st century Dubai complexes featuring indoor skiing and surfing and a new Disney theme park. Adjunct complete with climate-specific subdivisions like Tundra Town and Sahara Square. There's far too much to take in here as the opening scene of The Lion King promises a movie whose stunning African savanna was downright simplistic compared with the world Zootopia has to establish, and Howard and Moore struggle to make their introduction anywhere near as impressive despite leaning heavily on an unremarkable I Want song called Try Everything, performed by Gazelle Shakira, the felt-speltest pop-it-all well-meaning sample-y want to try event, though I could fail doing justice to an elaborate new environment, poses a familiar problems lightly improved from last year's Tomorrowland, in the sense that Judy, who probably should have grown up in town like everyone else in Zootopia, takes a long train ride into the city, ogling the various districts as she passes. It's a sequence worth studying a dozen times down the road just to catch all the tinny details, from the hippo drying stations to the plastic hamster tubes, although it's an awkward way to acquaint ourselves with the city. In theory, Zootopia's residents have evolved past distinctions of predator and prey, which might explain the small matter of cartoon biology. Whether tiny mice or hulking rhinoceroses, all animals have front-facing eyes, upright postures, and opposable thumbs, a throwback to the delightful character design featured in Disney's Robin Hood 1973, which reimagined a human world populated entirely by animals, integrating characteristics of each species into the ways different creatures move in. Progressive-minded Zootopia, a moose can co-anchor the evening news with a snow leopard without it turning into an episode of When Animals Attack. That said, even the most basic social interactions remain tense as the city's caste system matches animals to the roles that suit them best. The DMV is all too accurately staffed by slow-moving sloths, for example, while still adhering closely to the hierarchy of the food chain, with a few amusing exceptions, including a cameo by Pinky and the Brain actor Maurice Lamar as a Don Corleone-like Arctic shrew. As far as cops are concerned, it's the big fellas, rhinos, tigers, and Cape Buffalo, like Captain Bogo Idris Elba, who are responsible for maintaining law and order. Judy may be the first to benefit from the new mammal inclusion initiative devised by Mayor Lionheart J.K. Simmons, but Bogo isn't ready to trust her with a real investigation, placing the rookie on parking meter duty while he assigns everyone else key roles in a major. Missing persons case if Bogo's behavior smacks of speciesism that's no accident. The Zootopia screenplay, on which the directors share credit with Phil Johnston and co-helmer Jared Bush, actually turns real-world racial sensitivity issues into something of a talking point, as when Judy notes that a bunny can call another bunny cute, but it's not okay when another animal does it. While raising the subject should help encourage kids to look past surface differences in one another, it's a bit misleading, since the movie is less about race than gender, dredging up equality issues that might have been fresher in the days of 9 to 5 and working. Girl Judy is treated differently because she's a woman, bonding most easily with bellwether baby-oist comedian Jenny. Slate, the woolly assistant mayor who serves as Lionheart's glorified secretary, and Clawhauser. Nate Torrence, the police force's effeminate cheetah receptionist. What then do we make of the tenuous alliance between Judy and trickster fox Nick Wilde, Jason Bateman, which, despite the obvious design similarities, features none of the bloodthirsty tension shown between Britt and Burr Fox in Disney's? Half-forgotten suppressed song of the South. Zootopia's relatively PC sensibility serves as a partial corrective to that shameful 1946 tune, offering a classic screwball comedy relationship in which the natural rivals match wits while she carries the added protection of a spray-based fox repellent, getting no support from her police comrades. Judy enlists Nick in an investigation that leads her down the metaphorical rabbit hole and into the seedier side of Zootopia from the Mystic Spring Oasis, a clothing optional resort where animals frolic on. Nate rel to an ominous research facility housing predators that have gone savage the deeper they got the more Zootopia comes to resemble such vintage noirs as Chinatown and L.A. Confidential, from its increasingly shadowy look to Michael Giacchino's jazzy lounge music score. Disney has been down this road before with Who Framed Roger Rabbit, although this time there's not a single human character to be found. While the adult skewing jokes, mostly references to other movies, aren't nearly so inappropriate for kids. Genre-wise, the film couldn't be farther from the terrain of Frozen and other Disney princess movies, though it plays directly to the studio strengths behind the scenes. We may not see every corner of Zootopia, but we know it's been mapped out and conceptualized and on screen, where the endearingly designed ensemble gives the animators plenty to work with. Judy Hopps' bright-eyed, foot-thumping energy and Nick Wilde's cool, half-lidded reluctance offer a perfect study in contrast, crossing what both actors gave in the recording booth with characteristics of the two species in question. In Goodwin's case, the actress's ghoulless optimism comes through loud and clear, telegraphed through her two long bunny ears, which fold back in fear and shame, but otherwise stand expectantly tall in the face of each new challenge as her Y. Foxfoil. Nick models a fast-changing map of Bateman's smirks and eye rolls, his slouchy posture, a deceptive cover for his slippery potential. While it doesn't have quite the same breakout potential as the Mouse House's Pewit's Zootopia, has shrewdly established both environment that could be further explored from countless other angles in a spin-off TV series, perhaps, and an odd couple chemistry between Nick and Judy that carries on even after Gazelle returns for her obligatory grand finale, directed by Byron Howard. Richmore, co-director. Jared Bush, screenplay Bush, Phil Johnston, story Howard Bush, Moore, Josie Trinidad, Jim Reardon, Phil Johnston, Jennifer Lee, camera, color, widescreen, 3D, Brian Leach. Editors Fabian Raleigh, Jeremy Milton, music, Michael Guccino, music supervisor, Tom McDougall, production designer, David Getz, art director, Matthias Lechner, heads of story, Trinidad Raren, head of animation, Renato dos Sanjos, animation. Supervisors, Nathan Engelhardt, Jennifer Hager, Robert Huff, Kira Latamaki, Chad. Sir Sound, Dolby Atmos, Addison Teague, supervising sound editor, Teague Rear. Recording mixer, David Fleur, Gabriel Guy, visual effects supervisor, Scott Kursevich, stereoscopic supervisor, Katie Foe, associate producers, Nicole Perrin. Monica Lego, Katie's casting, Jamie Sparra, Roberts with Ginnifer Goodwin, Jason Bateman, Shakir Idris Elba, J.K. Simmons, Nate Torrence, Jenny Slate, Tommy Chong, Octavia Spencer. Bonnie Hunt, Don Lake, Alan Tudyk, Tommy Tiny Lister, Raymond Percy, Katie Lowes, Jesse Cordy, John Diageo. Extra information for weeks on end in the recent past. There had been one movie people had insistently reminded me of and repeatedly praised without fault: Zootopia. Now, to say I was skeptical was an understatement. I was never much of an animation junkie, and Zootopia was no exception. No top of that, I wasn't exactly too crazy about Disney's latest animation hit Frozen. While Big Hero 6 came out after Frozen, it wasn't nearly as big in sales and popularity. Ultimately, it was word of mouth and circumstance that put me in a position to view Zootopia, and it did not disappoint. I find it especially difficult to pick apart and judge animated movies. Qualities such as directing usually don't make or break a movie, and Disney had pretty much got their animation quality down to a science. As expected, the animation looks great with non-human characters showing emotion convincingly, and in a more human way than some physical acting in recent movies. While the animation is really what you would expect from Disney, it's the art styles that ultimately give the viewer a breath of fresh air. The city of Zootopia itself, in which much of the movie takes place, is split into various sections, with each section depicting different animal habitats, spliced in with modern technology and architecture found in any major bustling city in the world. I found these locations not only fun to watch, but fit logically within the world they existed in. Said locations were actually believable at times, to the point where I forgot I was watching a buddy cop animation featuring talking like animals, and rather was just engrossed in the movie itself. The voice acting cast of this film knocks it out of the park, with leads Ginnifer Goodwin as Officer Judy Hopps and Jason Bateman as Nick Wilde, delivering both an impactful and convincing performance. Moments in the movie that are intended to tug on the heartstrings rely incredibly so on the performances of these actors, and they don't fall flat at all. Other smaller voice roles include big names such as Idris Elba, Jada K. Simmons, and even a well-known pop music artist whose name I won't release here for sake of spoilers, that left me relatively surprised from most of the movie watching diligently to see if I could recognize, and other voices from other movies I had come to love. It is not the animation, not the voice acting, nor the art direction that sets Zootopia apart from the rest of Disney's numerous animated movies in recent years. However, and while the concept of a buddy cop animated movie is also a breath of fresh air from the usual classic fairy tale or magical conundrum, the real kicker for Zootopia is the message, tackling difficult thematic elements such as racism and stereotyping. Zootopia offers a brilliant take on one of the world's most prevalent and terribly dark problems. Set problems are framed expertly, offering an experience that is simple enough for young children to understand and complex enough for adults to enjoy and actually think about. The comedic relief is crafted well in Zootopia, and at times is very much needed as the film hits attack. Times a tone that leaves the audience's collective heart sinking. Racism is a theme often tackled, but also often not executed well in recent films. Even if it is executed well, it's in such a dark and gritty form. It isn't in good conscience accessible to children. Zootopia breaks down this wall and crafts an incredibly fun yet sad and thought-provoking movie, with a message that truly is relevant and topical to today's world. In conclusion, while Zootopia may seem to some, namely myself, before I actually saw the movie as just another Disney animation, it very much surpasses that title. The production itself is wonderful, as with most Disney animations. However, it's ultimately the relevant and heart-heavy writing and message of Zootopia that justifies it as the highest-grossing films of 2016, beating out Zack Snyder's Batman vs. Superman, what was arguably one of the most anticipated films of all time. Disney skeptic or not, Zootopia is 100% worth the watch and even a purchase on Blu-ray in the coming months. It's simply one of those animated movies that will be revered for years to come and is something you don't want to miss, ever since Pixar's been making movies. I always thought that their stories are superior compared to Disney in that they appeal to adults as well as children. Well, Disney's clearly been improving year after year. Wreck-It, Ralph, Big Hero 6. Frozen, They all have pretty mature, thought-provoking themes with teachable moments for people of all ages. This time with Zootopia, its themes of overcoming prejudices feels as timely as ever, while still being an enjoyable ride from start to finish. It starts out typical enough for a Disney movie, a smart and ambitious rabbit named Judy Hopps. Ginnifer Goodwin dreams of becoming a police officer despite the fact that no bunnies ever did. Even her own parents didn't initially believe she's got what it takes and encourage her to follow her family tradition and be a carrot farmer in rural bunny bureau. Thankfully, Judy's that resolute enough to defy them, and against all odds, she does become a police officer. She's an instantly likable character, and right away I was invested in her journey. The story pretty much begins on the first day. Judy's as an officer in Zootopia, a city filled with anthropomorphic animals, though she's relegated to parking duty by Chief Bogo Idris Elba. How she ends up solving a crime that leads to yet another mission to rescue the husband of a female otter who's been pleading with the police force to help. Her duties not only defied the odds that a rabbit can be a competent officer, but she's proven to be a valuable asset to the force with her resourcefulness. I love that Zootopia is not an animated musical that occasionally bursts into songs. It even takes a little zing at Disney itself when Chief Bogo said to Judy, "Life isn't some cartoon musical where you sing a little song and all your insipid dreams magically come true, so let it go." The plot is more of an action mystery thriller that is as clever and quick-witted as the movie's protagonist. The team of writers, at least 7 of them credited on IMDb, keep playing with my expectations throughout, cleverly weaving the themes of widely held stereotypes and discrimination without taking away the fun of an animated adventure. Just when I thought the story is going one way, it turns out to be another. I love being surprised when watching movies, and this movie does that. Time and again, and I was left in awe every time. The strength of Zootopia also lies in the chemistry of the 2 leads, Judy and the Sly Fox, Nick Wilde, Jason. Bateman. Disney's no stranger to putting together unlikely pairings, and this latest one is as delightful as ever. They end up finding similarities in regards to defying stereotypes of their kind, and the developing bond between them is fun to watch. Some of the funny scenes in the trailer, i.e. the one with the sloth, is still hilarious in the movie. But I think there are even more memorable scenes than that one. There are interesting characters we meet throughout their journey. I especially love the scene with Mr. Big, Maurice Lamar, and his introduction is a hoot. Ela's voice is always a highlight in any movie, and he's memorable here too as Chief Bogo, Jenny Slate's Bellwether, and Alan Tudyk's Duke Weaselton. Round up the excellent voice cast. Despite not having a big musical number, it does have a fun song, Try Everything, featuring Shakira, who also has a cameo as pop star Gazelle. Just what I expect from Disney with its $150 million budget. The cinematography is absolutely spectacular. The 5 boroughs of Zootopia are beautifully rendered, and each has a fitting name that describes its own unique characteristics. Savannah, Central Sahara Square Town, Little Red-Eye, and Rainforest District. The chase through all the different boroughs are a ton of fun that made me wish I had seen it on the big screen. Kudos to the trio of directors Byron, Howard, Rich Moore, and Jared for creating such a fun, enjoyable ride of a movie that's also smart and has a big heart. This is another winner from Disney that I don't mind watching again and again. This film, directed by Byron Howard Bridgemore, screenplay by Jared Bush, Phil Johnston, story by Byron Howard Bridgemore, Jared Bush, Jim Rear, and Josie Trinidad v. Phil Johnston, Jennifer Lee, produced by Clark. Spencer starring Ginnifer Goodwin, Jason Bateman, Idris Elba, Jenny Slate, Nate Torrence, Bunny Hunt, Dunlick, Tommy Chong, Kay Simmons, Octavia Spencer, Alan Tudyk. Shakira cinematography, Nathan Warner, Brian Leach, directed by Fabian Raleigh, Jeremy Milton, music by Michael Giacchino, production company Walt Disney Animation Studios, distributed by Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures, release dates February 13th, 2016 Belgium, March 4th, 2016 United States, running time 18 minutes. Country: United States, language English, budget $150 million, box office $1.0025 billion. So guys, this is the review of Zootopia movie and some information about it. How do you like our today's video? Please let us know by commenting, and if you like this video, please like it, share it, and don't forget to subscribe West Films to our channel. Thanks for watching.